How did you choose being a lawyer? Like, when did it start for you?
I like public speaking.
What are the three main things that a company should check before signing a contract?
So, for instance, you check
I wanted to ask you, what is pitch deck?
a short story you tell about your business in order to attract investors or customers, to put it simply.
Let's say one person just came to Poland. He wants to open a business from scratch. What are the steps?
You have to think of...
Welcome back to Behind the Logo, powered by Ego. My name is Nate, and today we have an amazing guest. And let me give him a proper introduction. Sharp, strategic, and shaping the business world through law. Our guest today is more than a lawyer. He's trusted advisor for both local and international clients. Please welcome Jacob Fer.
Thank you. Now I'm almost believing you for saying this.
Yeah, we've repeated it many times.
Well, it's been nice to hear.
Yeah. I'm really glad to have you today.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. So, first, since you are a lawyer, hopefully you don't sue me after these questions.
I haven't seen the questions, so let's see about this.
Let's go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you choose being a lawyer? Like, when did it start for you?
I guess I've always been argumentative, outspoken, and I liked making arguments and making an argument with someone also. When I was little, I was arguing with my parents about anything, about politics on one side, or about whether picking up the trash or taking out the trash by a 6 or 7 year old is child labor. So I've been kind of a brat, to be honest. And I liked public speaking. And after high school, after doing some debates, after being in a class that was with a legal profile, I've decided that being a lawyer is basically arguing with people but for money. At least that's how I imagined it. Turned out to be the case only to some extent. But it's about making arguments. Not so much orally, but in writing. And this is what I like about it. There have been several times when I felt during my studies that maybe it's not the right path. Maybe I should do something else. But then I went to my first law firm, which was a large corporate entity with an office in Warsaw as an intern, and it turned out to be great. So I've for all those who think about law, I always recommend to do some practice on the side, even if you're during the university, because it's way different than studying law, doing it actually, and seeing and working in practice.
So it's much similar with arguing with people, and
in a way. I mean, it depends on what you do. The first internship I did was in a dispute resolution department, which is basically this. So it's disputes in court, mostly in writing, but the senior lawyers went to court and argued for their clients also orally, in person. But then I took a turn into IT, which is mostly contracts, which is mostly corporate law, corporate matters. And this is not about arguing. It's more about negotiating and more about coming to a consensus or making sure that the company you represent or you work for is safe when it comes to legal side. So it's not arguing, but it's still about arguments when it comes to, for example, negotiating with a client or an investor on behalf of the company you represent. So the part of making arguments is still there, still present, and I like it.
Okay. Why did you prefer going into corporate when it is like you can choose being a personal lawyer, but why did you choose going corporate?
I mean, there are several factors. First, I don't think I'm that good with dealing with so much of other people's pain and emotions. And it's not that, like, I'm not empathetic. I think I'm a little bit too much sensitive when it comes to the problems that personal lawyers have to deal with on a daily basis. And if you do not feel like you're emotionally strong enough for this not to overwhelm you, then corporate law is a little bit softer when it comes to this. Because you're still dealing with emotions, with people, but it's another level. I mean, it's a different thing when someone is, for example, representing a wife who wants to divorce her husband, or a husband who wants to see his kid, for example, when it comes to family matters. And a whole another thing when you are dealing with contracts, numbers, revenue. These are not the same emotions. And so that's one thing. It's a little bit less emotional, less stressful. But on the other thing, I've always liked the civil side, meaning the side that the side of the law that we get in touch every day. I mean, you buy something, this is already a legal action you're taking. And I didn't feel like I'm good at that I like criminal law, because it felt distant to me. And I know that if you are going to be a personal lawyer, there will be some civil matters, but also some criminal matters you'll have to deal with. I didn't quite like it. So I guess this was first the sensitivity, and then the attraction of law that is actually there for people every day versus criminal law, which is sort of a darker side of law. I respect all lawyers who are personal lawyers, but I think actually being a corporate lawyer is easier.
Yeah, I believe so. Since when you are a personal lawyer, you almost have to be desensitized from all of the emotional things that people go through daily basis.
Right.
Yeah. For example, if a woman comes to you saying that I'm getting divorced and I'm losing my child or something like that, you almost have to be desensitized from that, because if you have emotional like attraction to that, that's going to be a difficult way.
Same thing with doctors who are dealing with difficult medical cases. Same thing with psychologists. And it's the same with lawyers. Like, you have to be strong enough not to get involved emotionally so much that you can't do this any longer.
Yeah.
And I've decided that this is not for me. Not this type of emotions. I'd rather argue or negotiate for companies that make innovative products than have to deal with that kind of emotions. But I know lawyers who do that, and I respect them a lot, because I know how hard it is.
Yeah. Shout out to all of the lawyers.
Yeah. All of the personal lawyers.
Yeah, all of the personal lawyers. When we go back, when it comes to like high school and all the school system in Poland, for example, how did it shape you to be this person you are right now? I just wanted to know like the system, the systematic structure of how the school system works in Poland.
Okay, well that's a big issue there. But for me personally, I think again I've never been like this one guy who is 11 and already knows that much about law. But I've been interested in, on the one side, public speaking, and that started with like competitions on, I don't know how to say it in English, but when you have to perform a poem, for example, in front of an audience.
Yeah.
And I was 7 or 8 when I started doing that. I loved it. And on the other thing, I was always interested in politics. Interested in what happens when it comes to the public issues that are discussed on the TV and such. And these were the school subjects also that were the most interesting to me. And also, when it comes to schooling, I think the best thing that happened to me is that I had great friends who I loved discussing several issues with. And this was this was quite something when it comes to making you think about arguments, about different sides of one issue or another. And there were also extracurricular activities that our school, when I were in high school, invited us to take part in. For example, I took part in Oxford's debate tournament in my local town, Toruń. And we won this tournament twice, lost the third year. The last year we were second. But are you familiar with Oxford's debate or how it works? Or
I would like you to explain more. I was going to ask you, actually.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's this type of debate where there are two teams, and they're arbitrarily, like from the organizer, assigned a topic. For example, should marijuana be legal? And one side is for that topic and argues for that topic, and the other side is against. And you as participant, you don't decide in which team you're on which side you're on.
Okay.
So even if you are, say, against legalizing marijuana, you still have to argue for legalizing it. And that way, first, you're coming up with arguments that you don't usually come up with. Second of all, you train in public speaking and in interactions. You can ask people questions when they have their speeches, because you come one by one person from one team, then one person from another team, and so on. And this is actually a great way to teach children or teenagers about making arguments, about public speaking, but also about thinking of what the other side can come up with and countering it. And this experience was actually the one thing that kept me going when it came to the decision of choosing a university subject I want to study, and I've decided that law is the closest to what I've done there.
Yeah.
And this was a passion for me. So that's how it happened. Not really through subjects that were taught us at school, but by the extracurricular activities that I took part in, like these debates or competitions.
Yeah. So you're from Toruń?
Yes.
Oh, I've been there. That's amazing.
You've been there?
Yeah.
Lovely, right?
But it's a little city, but it's a really lovely city.
Yeah. I think we've been talking about this earlier, actually, that Toruń is a city that has all the advantages of a large city without the disadvantages, because there are no traffic jams, but yet there are trams, there is theater, cinema, good high school. So I love Toruń.
Yeah, amazing city. If you haven't been to Toruń, go to Toruń.
Go to Toruń, definitely.
Yeah, amazing. I have another questions for you, which is that you're a lawyer which is practicing international and also local type of law, which is you're supporting companies, right? So I want to differentiate the things between in the international and also the local laws that you're facing when it comes to businesses.
So I'm mostly working with local regulations, but working with international companies that operate in Poland, right? So, for instance, I have a client that's based in the US, but they've decided to create an entity here in Poland. And so I've helped them throughout the entire process of creating this company. Now I formally represent this company, do draft all the agreements and such. But it's mostly Polish and EU regulations. I'm not that good when it comes to any foreign regulations. So haven't had a chance yet to work with international cases in the sense that you have to understand other legal systems. But there've been a few cases when you had to do this, especially when I was interning at the international law firm I've been talking about, because there were issues that were sort of on the crossroads. For example, you had a company from Spain suing a company from Poland, right? And you had to determine which legal system applied to what extent and so on. But one thing about contracts and contract law that is actually really nice when it comes to working with it is that contracts are basically, in their essence, universal. Meaning, sure, there are differences between different legal systems, but when it comes to contract law, the first source of truth, the first source of law between you and me if you sign a contract is this contract and the words that are in it, not outside regulations. And so it is way easier to write a contract for a foreign company than to, for instance, for me to represent a US citizen in a divorce case, because then I'd have to know all the US law about it. But when it comes to contract, I see the contract, and that's the starting point. So contract law is more universal, more international.
Yeah, the details are not that much different from other countries.
They differ, but they differ in nuances, sometimes important ones. But the essence remains the same.
When it comes to contracts, for example, if a person wants to open a business like in Poland, what is let's say the three main things that a person should check on a contract when signing? When it is becoming like a deal with business to business deals.
Okay, sure.
What are the three main things that a company should check before signing a contract?
So first, you have to make sure that there is your revenue is secure, right? So first thing you actually check is whether the amount that you've typed there, say $50,000, is actually going to be payable to you in a reasonable timeline. So, for instance, you check how much time does the other party have to pay you? Do you have an advance on the payment or not? How do you structure the payment, right? Do you have to meet some conditions in order to get your money? And if so, what are these conditions? Working with IT companies is something that taught me that it's one thing to have a contract with a nice price and a nice client. It's the other thing to make this contract work in practice when it comes to securing your payment. Because you sign a contract with a client and the client promises you to pay this $50,000. But then you deliver your product and the client says, no, I don't like this product. You have to fix it. And you say, wait, we didn't agree on fixing anything. Sure, but we've agreed that we pay you after you create the product, and we don't like the product. And in such case, you have two options. You can either go to court, and that will take a lot of time and a lot of money before you get anything done, or you can fix the product. So you have to think of this kinds of scenarios at the moment you're drafting the contract and negotiating it, and think of what procedure should apply for what conditions should the product meet. How many rounds of corrections will there be? So, for instance, you can agree that, okay, I will deliver you the product. Here is the specification. So here are the functionalities the product has to meet. If it meets them, we're okay. And let's say you have an option for 2 rounds of fixing the bugs. So you can point out the bugs, we fix them twice, and after this, the product is delivered, right? So in this way, you secure the payment from the transaction. So the payments is one thing. The other thing, responsibility. Because I know that no one, when there is a great business opportunity, thinks about what can go wrong. But contracts are especially important when something goes wrong. So you have to think about what will be the limit of your responsibility if something goes wrong. For instance, if you have a contract that is worth $50,000, but you're working for a large company, like international, and you know that this product is crucial for their revenue, and you don't have a limit on your responsibility, and something goes wrong, they can sue you for way more than 50,000, right? So you have to think about limiting your responsibility so that the risk is worth the payment. So that's the second thing. And also, I'd say that you have to make sure when you negotiate the contract that you and the other party understand what's been written in the same way. Because most legal cases, when it comes to contract law, come down to one person understanding this one sentence in another way than the other person. So if you agree on what it means and you write it as clearly as you can, there is less risk that something goes wrong. So I'd say clarity, payment, responsibility. These are the 3 crucial things.
Especially payment.
Yeah, especially payment.
So, yeah, definitely. Because when signing a contract, I believe, I'm not a lawyer, but I know that both parties have to understand what exactly the contract states.
Yeah.
That makes it a lot easier for both the parties.
Right.
So when it comes to lawsuits and stuff as well.
Yeah, and this is actually what lawyers are for in the first place, because I know companies, I also know people who think that lawyers come when something goes wrong. And that is the approach that makes things go wrong more often. If you sign a contract that is important for you and you can afford it, I think you should get a lawyer before it. And I don't think it just because it's affordable to me, but it's also easier and way cheaper to draft a good contract and have a lawyer tell you what's in it and what to look for, than you reading it yourself and then, for instance, not understanding some part or understanding it incorrectly.
Missing a detail.
Yeah, exactly. And then having to solve a problem.
Exactly.
That's way more expensive.
Exactly. So let's say one person just came to Poland. He wants to open a business from scratch.
Right.
What are the steps?
So, if you came to Poland legally, it's okay. If you came illegally, then you first have to legalize your status so that everything is okay on the immigration part. I'm not that good at it. But when it comes to the business side, At first, you can operate without registering. I mean, there is a limit of money you can earn from your business without actually registering it. You just have to make sure that you state all the income on your personal income tax form afterwards and pay the tax on it. After you've crossed that limit, you have to think of registering your business and a form that you will register your business in. And that's a whole other issue, because then you have to decide what form will my business operate in. And if you're just a single person, like say you, I don't know, sell bikes, right? By yourself, you have a bike store, then probably an individual entrepreneurship form is the best for you, because it's the simplest. You are your business basically. But if you operate with someone else, for instance, you have a partner or two partners, or if you are looking for large contracts with bigger responsibility and you want to limit your responsibility, then you have to think of other forms, like an LLC, limited liability company, or like a company that operates by, I don't know how it's called in English. In Polish, it's spółka akcyjna. When the kinds of companies that operate at stock exchange. These are the companies that are taking money from investors and creating something.
Investment firms.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, basically them. Right. So there are several forms. I don't think we have time to go through them one by one, but so that's another step. You decide on the form, and then depending on the form, there are levels of formalities you have to take care of. When it comes to individual businesses, it's simple. You just register electronically. That's it. But when it comes to companies that are in itself legal persons, they're separate entities from you, then the procedure gets a little bit more complicated. You still can register online, but there are several steps you have to take care of. And that is basically the moment I always recommend to at least consult a lawyer that is a corporate lawyer, just to make sure that you've done all the steps correctly. Because for the individual entrepreneurship, lawyer is not needed, basically. But for structuring your company that is another entity and that you create with partners, well, that's another story. So then you should get a lawyer, basically.
Okay, so when you have multiple people operating a company, when you have partners, that's when you need a lawyer, and the process is also different from having a personal business by your own.
Right. When you have more than one person running it, or when the revenue and the responsibility is high enough that you want to create a separate entity. Because the difference between you as an individual and you as a partner in the LLC is that when you run a business, say this bike store, as an individual, you're responsible for all damages with all of your money. So something goes wrong, say a large contractor sues you and you lose a lot of money. You can lose everything that you have. An LLC is a separate entity that, in general, is responsible to the size of its own assets, right? So the company has its own money. The company has its own assets, and these assets are something separate from your own personal money. So you are a little bit more protected when it comes to large contracts. So you can think of coming to a person specializing in corporate law, either when the deals are valued at a price that feels that the responsibility is a little bit high, or when you're trying to work out a partnership with other people.
Yeah. So is it let's say, so if I want to try open a business right now, is it necessary not necessary, but would you advise me to get an LLC first?
So I'd first ask you, what do you do, and do you operate by yourself or with other people?
Yeah, let's say I sell bikes.
Right. Okay. Let's stick to the bikes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sell bikes from. It's just my personal business.
Right.
I want to open a business for myself.
Yeah.
What do you advise me to do? I came to you like.
And you're just starting out?
I'm just starting out right now.
Then you register as a solo entrepreneur, and that's it. Do not create an LLC because it's not necessary at this part.
Okay.
If you start earning more from this business, you can think about the responsibility.
Is there a number limit?
I wouldn't say that there is. The numbers vary because there are other different reasons.
Okay.
For which people want to create an LLC if they're acting solo. One reason is we've talked about is responsibility.
Yeah.
But the other thing is taxes, because you as a solo entrepreneur, you pay income tax, you pay your social security. And the social security can be high even if your income is low. And all the other public fees that are applied to your income. When it comes to LLCs, it's a little bit different because you as a member of the board, for instance, you don't pay social security. So one thing is that you're not covered when it comes to retirement, but the other thing is that more money stays in your pocket, right? So there is the moment when you can think of creating an LLC when it comes to tax reasons. Then you don't have to. Then you have to operate with someone else, because if you are operating solo, you still pay social security. So taxes and responsibility. Depending on the size of your income. So if you start feeling comfortable with your business, I think that's the moment when you can start thinking about creating an LLC.
Okay. So if you're like, oh, I'm making a lot of profit now.
Yeah.
Then
or not really a lot, but if you feel like, okay, I'm making some profit and I feel like I'm paying a lot of taxes. Can I optimize it? I'm not a tax advisor, by the way, so I can advise you on the general rules about how it works, but we have tax advisors that we cooperate with so that you can have a proper consultation, right? So you consult tax advisors when it comes to tax matters, corporate lawyers when it comes to actually registering your business, creating a partnership agreement if you want, and so on.
Welcome back, guys. We just took a break. Hopefully you're having a good time.
The best.
I'm also having the best time, and you didn't sue me until now.
Working on it.
All right. So I've heard that you've been doing pitch decks as well.
Right.
I wanted to ask you, what is pitch deck first? Then we will continue with the other questions.
Sure. I mean, it's basically a short story you tell about your business in order to attract investors or customers, to put it simply. So it's something that you say or write, a presentation or a short speech you give in order to convince someone that you're worth working with, or that you have a good business idea that you can sell.
So it is basically for investors or something like that. Like if I want investors to invest on my business, I just prepare a pitch deck.
Yeah, Yeah, basically, yes. But I'm not just working with pitch decks. I mean, I'm apart from my legal career, I'm also sort of on the side a public speaking coach and an event host. Mostly because I love it, not because it's a great source of income. But so, in any case in which you have to get in contact with an investor or a customer and tell them about what you do, what's your idea, or what's your business, then you have to think of a way to attract attention and to convince someone that you're worth talking to. And basically, yes, that's what I'm working with when working with people who create startups or who already have running businesses.
Yeah. When it comes to pitching your business to someone or like to make it convincing, what type of procedures should a business owner should take? Would you say?
What type of
what type of things should he consider on his pitch in order to make it convincing to other people?
So first you have to think of a hook. Most people nowadays don't have time for anything. So even if they are talking to you, their attention might be elsewhere. So you have to think of a way to attract attention. And that's the same with any kind of speech or message. I mean, when you write a post nowadays, you scroll until you see something interesting. Or same thing goes with reels or short clips. And the same thing goes for a pitch. So you have to start with something that attracts attention. And then what you have to remember is that, of course, when you have an idea for a business or when you have a running business, you know a lot of things that are convincing facts that can that in your head make your business really interesting and profitable. But there usually is no time for putting all this information into someone's head. So what you have to focus on is one thing that connects your idea and all these information together. So basically, the way I recommend to work on pitch decks or any kind of pitches is that you start with a hook, and then you tell about a problem, a real world problem, and a solution that is your business. Right? For instance, if I were to tell you about my legal services, I'd say that the biggest problem with lawyers working for IT sector is that they're not modern when it comes to communication and the way they're operating. Because when you're an IT, a developer, say for some company, and you're looking for a lawyer, you usually have to first write an email, schedule an appointment, go there or meet someone online, pay for the consultation, and then you can hear out what the lawyer can do for you. And I don't believe that is the way this business should operate. So the way I work is that we meet for a consultation online that is completely free of charge. And I listen. I listen to what is your problem. You have a form to schedule the appointment as well. So I have some basic information beforehand, and then I can tell you what I can do for you, and how much will it cost. And this way, you come to a lawyer with knowing that you will not have to pay just for them offering you something. You know the offer, you know the price. Right? So when I say this, you imagine a real problem and you feel like there is a solution. There are other companies that do the same thing, but it's a smaller part. It's not about you creating something out of the blue, really innovative. If it's that way, then it's great. But it's about first telling me what's the problem and what's the solution, and then you get to the if you talk to investors or then you get to the more informative part, when you talk about where will the money come from, what is your competition and why you're better than them, and why do you need the money from investors? What will the money do that you can't do without this? But basically, in a nutshell, that is how I'd structure a pitch deck, and that's what I'm working on individual consultations with clients that have businesses that they want to pitch.
It's basically the thing that you said, what will the money do that you can't do now? Right, that's the thing that you want to prove to the investors first.
Right.
I got it. And when you say that the lawyers would charge beforehand without even contacting with you, and then after you get you paid and you don't even like the service after. So that's also a bit tricky thing that business owners have to experience, because they don't know which type of lawyer to go for, especially when you are a foreign investor. You don't know which lawyer to hire, so you just end up paying a lot of lawyers beforehand before you find the lawyer that actually accommodates what you need. So in regards to that, tell us about your business and also about your company in regards to that.
Sure. So this was the exact problem that a couple of my friends who were working at IT came across when they were starting some businesses and were looking for lawyers. And this was the main thing they were complaining about. And I started during my early university years giving them some sort of advice because they knew me and trusted me. And then I thought that this is not the way this should work. There is a completely new model when it comes to services that operates anywhere else. I mean, you don't have to pay for a consultation that is something that in which a lawyer tells you what he can do for you. That's offering, that's pitching. And there are law firms who operate that way. Mine does too. But there are law firms who sell mostly consultations. And I don't judge them. I mean, if you're a lawyer that brings people in for consultations and that's the core of your business, that's fine. But this is not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is a partnership. Say you're young, you want to start a business. There is a chance this business will work out. And then this hour that I gave you for free of my time for a consultation can pay off, because then you will still need help when it comes to registering your company, when it comes to drafting your agreements, when it comes to negotiating with potential investors or with your customers, clients, and so on. And you will know the price. And you will know me already, and you know that I gave you my time, my attention. So you're more prone to trust me than rather than if you go to someone and pay them in advance, right? So this is the way I operate. It is also, let's admit it, easier for me because I'm still young. I'm still starting out. It's not that I have this large company. So of course, large entities, it is more difficult for them to offer free time of their employees because it's a cost. But I still believe that you should always remember to give your clients the idea of what you can do for them before you charge them with anything.
That is 100% I agree with, because for example, if I came up with a business and if you give me your free time, let's say not even an hour, just give me like 20 minutes or something just to teach me what you can do and whether that's the thing that I'm looking for or not. Then after that, whenever I'm successful or whenever I want a lawyer, you are the one who I'm going to trust after that.
Yeah.
So it also helps both of us, not only the client but also you as well, will be trusted regards to the business that he's creating.
Sure. And that's one thing I do. The other thing, I, as a general rule, never charge on an hourly rate. The only exception is when I really cannot tell how long something will take, because let's say this is negotiations with a client, or a visit to some sort of an office. Sure, an hourly rate applies. But in most cases, when you draft, you want me to draft an agreement. There are law firms who will charge you based on the hourly rate, and they will give you an estimate. Say it will take us 10 hours to draft this agreement, but it might take longer. Sometimes they're nice and they'll give you a cap. It will take us maximum 10 hours, but that happens more rarely. I don't like it. I mean, same thing when I order a pizza. I don't care how much it takes for someone to make a pizza. I want a pizza. And if you want me to draft an agreement, I give you a fixed rate, a fixed price for this agreement. And of course, if you want me to make some changes, then we agree in the first place that I will give you a draft of an agreement and 2 rounds of corrections, right? So you tell me what's wrong, I'll fix it twice. And that's included in the price. And if you don't like it the third time, okay, then we will agree on changing the price and making it a little bit higher. But that way, the price you pay does not depend on how long it will take for me to work. You just want the product. So I mostly operate on the fixed price model, and I think that more and more law firms are starting to do that, but a lot of them still don't, and I find it really frustrating.
Why do they operate like hourly? Is it based on quality of the contract they're preparing, or why are they doing it hourly?
It's more comfortable for them. I mean, if you work on an hourly rate, then you don't have to plan your work so strictly, because if the work takes longer than you thought, well, you still are getting paid for each hour. So it's more comfortable. It's also the case that there are situations in which you cannot know for sure how long this will take for you, for instance, to prepare some sort of documents. But that is why we offer consultations in the first place, right? So you come, we meet for a free consultation. Then I get a sense of what you want. And after this, I know what I have to do. And I can reasonably think how long this will take. And I can, this way, adjust the price accordingly. But for larger entities, large law firms, it's more difficult because they have a lot of employees. These employees work sometimes a little bit faster, sometimes a little bit slower. And it's always easier to agree on an hourly rate for the business. But for the customer, it's terrible. So I try to avoid it and be as much customer friendly as I can.
That's great. That's really great. I wanted to ask, how do you view the business environment in Europe when it compares to the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, or when it compares to the US? Do you have a sort of difference that you can explain to us when it comes to Europe?
I mean, I don't think I had clients from the UAE, but I definitely had. I am working for a company that operates in Saudi Arabia. I also have the clients from the US, as I mentioned. And for instance, Europe and the US are completely different when it comes to work ethic. I mean, people from the US usually work insanely hard, meaning they really work all day. Overtime is a general rule, and there is really no hesitation when it comes to, say, calling you after 5 p.m. Except when you tell them, sorry, I'm operating from this hour to this hour. In Europe, it's way more different. It's way more focused on work-life balance, right? On making sure that the work does not interfere with private life. And I feel that my US clients, they get it because they operate in Europe. But they don't really buy it. I mean, they believe more that work is part of life, and that's something to remember. When it comes to the Saudi part, I still did not have a lot of experience when it comes to negotiating with entities from there, so I can tell from the little experience I had, but I'm sure there are people who are way more knowledgeable than I am on this. But I feel that they are way more difficult when it comes to dealing with formalities. Because in Europe, negotiations are, first of all, in B2B contracts, they're normal completely. And second of all, both parties agree that the contract is very important. When it comes to companies who are more from the Arabic sphere, I feel that there is often less place for a negotiation. But on the other hand, there is a sense that the contract is not that crucial. What is crucial is our relationship. And these sort of problems happen when it comes to contract negotiations, that one party thinks that the contract is super important, the other doesn't. So you have to really understand the mindset that's coming from the other side.
Yeah. When it comes to actually work-life balance and the way how Europe and the US operates, it's really fascinating for me as well, like how the US is more my work is my life type of thing. And if you see a person from the US is always having like 3 jobs like at the same time, and it's completely normal as well, like to operate in that kind of intense environment. I've heard a lot of stories about the New York and stuff, like people don't sleep. They always have to work because of the bills and stuff. But when it comes to Europe, it is a bit calm. You can live off one work. Like you can have one job and you set. Like you can pay your own everything that you want. So how do you see that? Like personally, I'm asking you personally. How do you see the work? Should work be integrated into your life, or should there be a work-life balance?
I mean, there are several things you have to think about when it comes to the work-life balance question. Because sure, I am not a person who likes to work all day. And if I work all day all the time, soon I will not be able to work productively. So there have to be enough time for rest. But on the other hand, it's not like I am starting my job at 9 and at 5 I'm completely away from it, and I am no longer thinking about my job, or I am no longer thinking of new improvements I can do, especially if you're a business owner. It's another thing if you're an employee. But still, there is a problem, not when it comes to work-life balance as a rule of working from 9 to 5, but rather as a way of thinking about your job as if it is not your life. And that's problematic because it leads to people being unhappy. Because I feel that for a long time I've thought that when I'm going to work, it's kind of, did you play The Sims?
Yeah, The Sims.
Yeah.
I haven't played it.
In The Sims, I think the third part, it's a simulation of life basically, and when your sim goes to work, it disappears from the map. And this is the way I've been thinking about my first jobs. But soon I've realized that this made me go to places that I didn't really want to be in just to get money. And I felt like this was completely detached from my personal life. That's not something you want to do. I mean, that's not something I want to do. I'm not talking for anyone else. So it's not like I'm at work and at home or in my personal time and working time, I'm another person. So I'd say boundaries are good, but not when they make you think that your work and your life are not the same thing. It's all your life, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with. The thing is, I'm a bit conflicted with, does work-life balance have to exist when you want to achieve, like, basically when you are an employee, of course, you can think of work-life balance because you're working for one entity, you can end job at 5, then you can log off and have your fun after that.
Yeah.
But when you want to elevate as a business owner, or when you want to reach like higher, you have to not consider work-life balance, basically.
Right.
Because there are people working way more harder than you, and it's really hard to outshine if you are considering work-life balance. That's what I think.
But then on the other hand, you cannot overwork yourself. So it's not about work-life balance as for an employee from 9 to 5, which is completely fair because this is what the employer pays you, the employee for.
Yeah.
So he cannot expect someone to work overtime without payment or without agreeing to this.
Yeah.
But for someone who wants to achieve more, right, or develop their own business, sure, it's not like it will be 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But you have to plan in a way that leaves enough time to rest. And that depends on multiple factors. How much rest do you need? I mean, it depends on what type of job do you do, what type of person you are, and so on, so on. If I worked for 16 hours a day, I am sure I would soon be terrible at my work. Because I'd feel miserable and because my mind will be extremely tired.
Yeah.
And the job is intellectual. So you have to be able to think. But if I worked 9 to 5 all days, I sure would not ever expect to be anything but mediocre in my job. So totally. You have to balance it, but you have to balance it for yourself.
For yourself, you have to optimize it for your own personal needs.
Exactly.
What actually matters for you.
Right.
Yeah. So we have spoken about Polish businesses and how they start business, like how business plans are structured and stuff. I want to know the difficulties on about starting a business in Poland. What's the most difficult thing in starting a business in Poland? Like operating a business, let's say, not starting.
I mean, starting a business in Poland or operating a business in Poland would mean that I know what are the difficulties outside Poland. I don't. I can know it from the experiences of my clients, but firsthand I only know running a small individual business here in Poland. So I'd say for me, for a business that is mostly services, meaning you creating something from your laptop, like lawyers do, or developers, it's fairly easy because at the start, you basically do not have any costs, right? So that's actually a good side of working in services. So I don't know anything about selling material products because it comes with costs, and these are the difficulties I do not know about. So from my personal experience as someone who is offering services, the difficulty I hear most about and I know most about is problems with investments relatively to other countries, other developed countries, because when it comes to investors here in Poland, there is a small group that invests in businesses and startups, and that is willing to risk their money basically on your success. But it's not like there are a lot of them. It's and I hear, it's not first-hand knowledge. I hear that it's way more easier, for instance, in the US, where there are basically investment firms that do only this. They take money from investors and put it in several startups that are promising. So we don't have an investment market that developed, which makes it more difficult to get money for starting a business when you don't have any capital and you need money for investment. So that's, I'd say, the biggest difficulty when it comes to starting a business for my clients, who are usually guys from IT.
Okay.
Lack of investment.
Yeah, the lack of investment is, it's more overly in Africa as well. From the place I came from, Ethiopia, it's also a difficulty starting a new business when you don't have that much of money, let's say liquid money, to find an investor and an actual investor to believe in you, in your idea, and give you the money to do it. It's a bit hard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think we share the common problem.
I imagine.
Yeah, and just to finish our conversation, our actually lovely conversation, of if you could give an advice for an upcoming lawyer, what would you advise him to do?
I feel like I am a little bit too young and inexperienced to be giving advice to people who are starting out. So I can just say what I think worked from my personal experience with this important sentence that it can change because I'm still starting out. But what I think I'd advise people who go to law school is, if they want to practice law, start practicing as soon as you can. We've talked about this earlier. So basically do an internship anywhere you can in the matter that interests you, because this way you will know whether law practice is for you. Because law studies and law practice are two completely different things. And for some, one might be great and the other might be terrible. So start practicing. And the other thing is, I'd say, have other interests than law. Because law is just a tool for creating something else. And I'm not saying you have to be an expert in any other area, but if you have an interest outside of law, you'll know more about how this thing that you're interested in, say it's innovation, or say it's online trading, or say it is starting a business in its own economy. You'll know more about the practical stuff that comes with operating in that area, And this way you'll be a better lawyer because you'll have an understanding of what you actually can help with.
So since law is a very general thing, you
Right.
just have to niche down to your own interest. It's basically be easier for you to practice the law in that specific area that you're interested in.
Right. It will be more bearable for you to be a lawyer if you have a passion or an interest in the area you're helping to develop. Because law in itself is a tool, but it's not
The final
ultimate goal. Right. You're just someone who helps someone else do something. So you better like what the person does.
Yeah. So before we go to our final and my personal favorite segment,
Sure.
Where can people find you? Tell us your company name, where people can find you on social media and all of the stuff.
Right. So the company name is L'Expertise. You can find us on LinkedIn. We are still developing our new website. But you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And there is my contact info all there in my profile.
Yeah.
As a side job, speaking about passions outside of law, as a public speaking coach, I've also started a YouTube channel, which is called Just Like Me, Jakub Ferek. So you can just go ahead and check it out. I talk about rhetoric and public speaking, but in Polish, but I hope it's interesting. Just started out, I have 3 clips there. But
You uploaded 3 videos already?
yeah.
All right.
3 clips.
That's nice. So guys, go and follow, check him out. If you need any expertise about opening a business, or if you want to open a business in Poland, basically to hit you up, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we will go to the next segment of the show. So yeah, this is the segment where we celebrate our guests for their achievement up to now. Since our guests people may not find a time to celebrate their own achievement.
I know.
And we want to celebrate it here in the podcast. So
That's fantastic.
our production have...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So our production have prepared the champagne like they always do. I don't know why Martini is not sponsoring us already.
It should.
It should.
Yeah. Maybe you have to reach out to them with a pitch deck.
Of course, you prepare the pitch deck.
Yeah, sure. I'll help you.
So we want you to open this champagne.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, in order to celebrate your achievement until now. We want to congratulate you.
I mean, everyone has some achievements that they don't think about that often. We usually think of the next steps we have to take.
Yes.
So I really appreciate this gesture.
Really?
But I have to say that I've came here by car. So I'll just take a sip.
Of course.
Because you can't drink and drive.
Yeah, you're a
I'm
lawyer.
a lawyer, so you can't do illegal stuff.
Wow.
There you go.
That was a perfect pop. That's a contender. The pop was a
So
contender.
just stop me.
All right, stop.
Okay.
Well, I walked over here, but I cannot drink a walk.
I think it's legal.
It's legal?
Yeah, they still haven't prohibited walking drunk.
Okay. I mean, you're the lawyer. So.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thanks. Yeah, Martini should sponsor you to bring more of the bottles here.
Yeah, because this is a good one. So guys, If you've been tuned in until now, it have been a very amazing episode. Thank you very much for coming. I was late. I was late. I'm sorry for that.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, but we actually managed to get it done. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you wanna stay tuned for other episodes, just subscribe and like, just share, support us, and also engage for our content. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Bye. Thanks.